Move away from that and take you to Parliament right now, because the minority is this afternoon demanding the suspension of the veteran of Paul Baffoe-Bonnie as Chief Justice until all outstanding legal challenges concerning the removal of the Chief Justice or former Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo are resolved in court. In a motion filed at the Speaker's office, we understand the NPP lawmakers are asking the Speaker to hold all processes by the Appointments Committee, citing current cases at the High Court and the ECOWAS Court. The Appointment Committee has scheduled to vet the Chief Justice nominee on November 10, 2025. Let's connect right now with Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Christian Yale for a bit more on this particular subject matter. Chris, we know the removed CJ has about 3 pending cases in court. Walk us through, if you can, those cases and what the minority is saying. Hello, Chris. Can you hear me? It does appear Chris cannot hear us at this particular point in time. We'll seek to rectify the connection with him, because there are quite a number of schools of thought as to whether or not these pending applications in respective courts, some the High Court, some the Supreme Court, amongst others, could be subject upon which the hand of Parliament can be stayed in carrying out its constitutionally mandated function in terms of vetting. And there are those who say, yes, it should. There are those who say it shouldn't. But let's try one more time with that connection with Christopher, or Christian Yale, I should say. Christian, I was asking if you could walk us through what the argument of the minority is vis-a-vis the pending cases of the removed Chief Justice.
About 5 members from the minority caucus have submitted this motion at the office of the clerk to Parliament, making these demands. But just to run through what we know so far pertaining to the pending cases filed by the removed Chief Justice, we know that there is one case that she had filed at the Supreme Court, and that particular case indeed was challenging the removal process by the Puaman Committee. I mean, I've heard a number of lawyers make the argument that that substantive case at the Supreme Court concerning the Puaman Committee's duty is actually moot as of now, because the committee has already finished its work, or part of it, which has led to her removal from office. But we also know that at the High Court, for instance, she has had one case that was seeking to make the case that if the president has removed her from office as Chief Justice, she still has that right to remain as a judge on the Supreme Court bench. But we know the Attorney General had responded to that, for instance, and demanded that that case be transferred to the Supreme Court, so that that constitutional interpretation involved in that particular bit be dealt with, as to whether when she is removed as a Supreme Court Justice or a Chief Justice, she can still remain as a Supreme Court judge. And there again, Eric, we know that there is that other case that has to do with her demand that she be reinstated, and also requesting that even the appointment of Paul Baffoe-Bonnie as Chief Justice and his vetting be put on hold. We know that last week, for instance, during a media engagement with the press corps, that was even last 2 weeks, the minority leader had lambasted the Puaman Committee, describing it as unconstitutional and unfair, the processes that led to the removal of the former CJ. And so this motion that we have cited, which I have a copy of right now, Eric, is saying that in pursuant to Articles 1101 and then 125 to 127 of the Constitution, and also even that of Article 1441 and 146, Parliament should, as a matter of fact, cause the Appointment Committee to halt any proceedings concerning the vetting of Paul Baffoe-Bonnie as Chief Justice. And also, as a matter of fact, they are making the case that all of those cases that I've cited at the High Court and even that at the ECOWAS Court be dealt with, so that these outstanding legal battles be dealt with before any possible consideration of a new Chief Justice can proceed. Eric.
And it's interesting that this argument is being made because it feeds directly into further argument as to whether or not pending cases before the courts can stay the hand of Parliament. Has there been a reaction from the majority side to this latest motion, if we can describe it as that, put before the Speaker asking for the suspension of this vetting?
In fact, we look forward to seeing how this is going to, turn out to be, because on the majority side, even from that particular engagement we had with leaders from both sides of the House 2 weeks ago, we know that the majority leader, Mahama Yariga, had immediately responded to the concerns of the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarkin, and among many other things, Eric, he had indicated that those concerns, in as much as the minority may deem them appropriate, are not sustained, because then we know last week, upon the resumption of Parliament, the Speaker read the official notice or communication from the President announcing Paul Baffoe-Bonnie as the new Chief Justice, and subsequently making that referral to the appointment committee. In fact, I can confirm, and just like we reported last week Friday, on that particular day, the appointment committee held that backdoor, or what they call the preliminary meeting, to discuss the day and the modalities concerning the consideration of Justice Paul Baffoe-Bonnie, after which we now know officially that next 2 weeks Monday, which is 10th November, the vetting should proceed. So when you engage the majority MPs from the back door, the understanding is that they are ready. The vetting is going to proceed as communicated and as the appointment committee has indicated. But the minority is demanding, in this memo which I have a copy of, is demanding that the Business Committee of Parliament immediately reprograms the order of the week and cause the Attorney General to be summoned before the House, or any other committee that the House will decide, to provide urgent update on all of these cases that Gertrude Torkornoo has filed at the respective court, in the High Court and at the ECOWAS court, before we can proceed from there, Eric.
Right, and let's talk possible implications, because we know this will come up on the floor for intense debate, and then the expectation is that the Speaker will have to make a determination on this. Are we picking indications that should this motion fail to be upheld by the Speaker, we could see the minority boycott the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee?
Eric, it is very interesting to expect what is going to come out of this, because we know that the minority leader, Alexander Afenyomarkin, on a number of occasions has indicated that his side would not boycott the vetting of the Chief Justice nominee, Paul Baffoe-Bonnie. However, with this motion that is, in fact, signed by these respective applicants, we have Anyimedu Entry, MP for Asante Akim Central. We have John Darkon, who happens to be the legal counsel to the minority, MP for Swami. We have Gloria Owusu, MP for Trobo. And then we have Damata Salam Ama Apianima, MP for Efija Kwabre South. We have Alhassan Suleiman Atampuli, MP for Gushegu, and also Kwabena Boateng, MP for Ejiso. These are the 5 of the minority caucus who have filed this motion. These are the applicants, the 5 of them. We wait to see whether the earlier position of the minority leader that they are not going to boycott proceedings would hold, because then repeatedly on different occasions they have made that clarion call that the removal of the former Chief Justice Gertrude Torkornoo was unconstitutional. But should the Speaker fail to grant this request that they are demanding, we wait to see if indeed they would boycott it, but also the expectation that it may even become a matter of debate on the floor, possible today or even tomorrow. Eric.
Christian, thank you very much for those details. That's my colleague Christian Yale in Parliament for us.